Post-opening is absolutely quiet. In fact, the sensex is already in the red.
The Nifty and the Sensex currently up close to about 0.8%.
Nifty is up 200 points as we speak.
So stability is the name of the game, and so far it's been quite stable.
Good day for the bulls, off the highs, but definitely big gains is what we saw across the board.
Hello and welcome to CNBC-TV18. You're watching Markets Today, the show where we track about 6 hours of the day's trading action in 5 headlines. I'm Ankit Agarwal. Here are the top stories of this evening. Markets snapped their 4-day losing streak to start the week on a positive note. Nifty reclaims the 18,000 mark as all sectoral indices trade in the green except for the Nifty Pharma. The Sensex gained 721 points, the rupee ends stronger than Friday. Private equity investor Advent is set to acquire control of Souven Pharma from the selling promoters who see this as a succession move. The 6,300 crore rupee deal opens up the possibility of Souven's merger with Cohance and triggers an open offer to existing shareholders. Souven Pharma tanks over 4%. Midcaps sharply outperform large peers amid a broad-based recovery in the market. The Nifty Midcap Index closes with gains of over 2.5% as market experts believe the sector can be an attractive investment over the next 5 years. Equitas Small Finance Bank gains after its CEO agrees to a 3-year extension of his term. SJVN jumps on an order win. Wellspun Corp perks up on gaining control of Syntex prefab via IBC, and restaurant brand Asia gets a fillip from the launch of Popeyes in Indonesia. Crude oil prices start on a positive note after 2 weeks of gains. Rise in oil prices attributed to Russia's plans to slash output and U.S. refineries shut in Texas and North Dakota due to the storm. All right, well, those are all of the top stories that we're tracking this evening. Here's a lineup of what we have in store for you. First up, we will bring you market opinion from Andrew Holland, CEO at Avendus Capital Public Markets, Alternate Strategies LLP, and in Corporate Voices, we have Venkat Jasti, CMD at Souven Pharma. Well, first to the day's trading action. The Lal Street saw a strong bounce to snap its 4-day losing streak. The Nifty and the Sensex gained over 1%, with the Nifty reclaiming that 18,000 mark. Financials and midcaps outperform. Prashant Nair is here to give us a wrap.
Very decent bounce coming in the market today. The Nifty on Friday lost 300 points. It gained back 200 of those points by close. It would have been even better, but in the last 30-40 minutes or so, the market gave back, on the Nifty, it gave back 80 points and, proportionately on the banks as well. But after 2 days of gut-wrenching kind of sell-offs, this is a good outcome that we've had today. Some stability coming back as we enter the last week of 2022. Broader markets also, which sold off very aggressively, came back forcefully. Decent kind of gain, 60-70% of Friday's losses recouped today. And banks, PSU banks, especially the public sector bank index from the December 14th high had lost 14%. In a single day today, it gained 7%. That was big. The private bank index did well. Metals as a space was up about 2% or so. Some nifty gainers on your screen: Indocent, SBI, Hindalco, and more. In the broader markets, advance decline was extremely strong. Some 7 advances for every stock which was down. The gainers from the PSU bank space, the private financial space, Yes Bank, Poonawalla, J&K, defense names, especially Mazgaon, Garden Reach, Cochin Shipyard, Bharat Dynamics, and so on and so forth. It's a good comeback after 2 days of ferocious selling. Let's see if we can hold this. Very little by way of global cues, mind you. US markets are shut today, later, so we come back with very thin global cues, but it's going to remain like that at least for the next fortnight or so. 18,050, which is very nearby, remains something to watch out for. The market starts to trade above that. We can aim and hope for higher levels, but that's the first one. The market needs to keep its head above. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Prashant. Thanks very much for that. Well, let's get in some expert opinion. Andrew Holland, CEO at Avendus Capital Public Markets Alternate Strategies LLP, said that he expects high volatility in the market in the month of January. He also discussed his top sectoral bets for 2023.
Market, I think, in January, still occupied and volatile in terms of, we've seen over the past month, right? We've gone from kind of the Goldilocks scenario to recession again, and the figures are still not supportive of the Fed, reducing so quickly. So I think that's what's going to keep the markets the volatility of the markets kind of quite high, at least in January. And of course, for India, we have our budget coming up in February. So again, there might be some kind of volatility around that in terms of what the finance minister may or may not do. Global theme that's playing out, one is renewables and one is defence, and that's going to continue into 2023. So that's a space which you could just need to kind of continue to invest in. I think because of the capital expenditure capex cycle which we expect globally, it's going to be more towards those industries where there's a security supply problem in the past or potentially in the future. And therefore, it's going to be the different capex cycle than we've seen before. So it's going to suit the kind of the Siemens, the ABBs, and so on. It's not going to be traditional L&Ts, BHELs, which I think will be leading the capex cycle this time around.
Okay, some opinion coming in there from our vendors, but on to the second headline this evening. Souven Pharma tanked over 4.5% in trade despite the news that private equity investor Advent is set to acquire control of the pharma company. Advent is also planning to make an open offer to acquire an additional 26% of Souven Pharma. Well, a couple of pieces of news with regards to that. Advent, in fact, entered into a share purchase agreement to acquire that 50.1%, and they will be acquiring it at around 495 rupees per share. So the total deal is worth around 6,300 crores. The mode of payment is going to be cash. Now, the promoters, the Jasti family, will continue to hold around 9.9% stake even after the deal. Now, Advent has launched an open offer to acquire an additional 26% stake, and that open offer, if it is entirely successful, then their stake will go to 76%. Reason for the stake sale: unable to bring a proper succession plan in place. Venkat Jasti's role post the deal. He is likely to stay on for a period of time. Souven Life, no plans to fund Souven Life from the promoter funds at this point in time. Advent says Cohance's first half revenue is tracking at around 1,300 crores, 28% in terms of margins. Combined margins entity would be around 30-odd%. They're not considering delisting at this point in time. So why was Souven down around close to 5% by the close of trade? One, there was no premium to the deal. The deal was done at around 495 rupees versus the closing price ahead of it. Fears of margins being diluted on a blended basis. Remember, Souven has had margins of over 40%. Cohance margins are at around 28%. So blended basis, the margins will possibly be lower. Promoters to hold 9.9% stake. There is a fear of Mr. Jasti not running the business on a longer term, and that seems to be weighing in terms of investor sentiment. The stock has already run up around 25% from its 52-week low. And questions on the lack of details with regards to a possible merger between Cohance as well as Souven Pharma is something that weighed on investors as well. The lack of clarity on any kind of merger ratio and those details was something that investors wanted to know more about. Well, on that note, let's get in some opinion that we had on the deal from Venkat Jasti of Souven Pharma as well as Advent.
Eventually, the Advent has to get the controlling stake. That's what after the 26% open offer they will launch. That's what the intent is all about. So the maximum will be diluting is around 50%. We've been telling that we are looking for a strategic partnership, but this thing is a combination of strategic partnership along with the financial partnership. The value creation has to be more, and the commitment and the things what we do in terms of the commitment to customers and the passion with which we do the things and the focus of the business will remain as same. We are not able to bring in the succession in plan. So there is so much time, maybe 5, 6, 7 years only, I can be actively doing this thing. So we need to plan properly. And also at the same time, we need to increase the value to ourselves and to the shareholders. And this is an opportunity where this is strategic financial investment has come. That's the reason why we have taken this opportunity, because with the it will be EPS accretive and it will double the revenue when the platforms merge into Souven, and Souven continue to run this way.
Okay, well, on to the third headline this evening. The Nifty Midcap Index closed with gains of over 2.5%. However, fund manager Gautam Sinha Roy of ICICI Prudential Life Insurance is not betting on midcaps in the short term, but believes midcaps can be an attractive investment in the next 5 years.
You say that midcaps are attractive today versus large caps on a very absolute basis from a near-term perspective. Probably not yet. That would need a little bit more of a correction. But if you think of it from more of a longer duration perspective, so as you look at India, India is clearly the fastest growing, one of the largest economies in the world. It's a very strong, place to be in for an equity investor. You have very large GDP and it's growing at the fastest clip in the world over the next 5 years. And which set of stocks are most levered to this growth opportunity? If you ask yourself, the obvious answer would be midcaps. And within midcaps also, you are seeing emergence of new sector after sectors.
Okay, meanwhile, Ankit Agarwal of UTI Midcap Fund says going ahead, the revival in the SME segment will be key.
From a broader financial and especially on the mid-sized financials, you're right, there was the valuations had significantly come down for a lot of the names. And, we were seeing improvement in credit quality and asset quality improvement that led to these valuations moving up. Now going ahead, it would be more about, what is the sort of revival that we're seeing on the SME side, specifically with some of these names, how the cycle on the CV side moves up. I think those will be the drivers to watch out for. I think the play from here would be clearly on how the credit growth plays out in some of these names to support the valuations.
Okay, time for a break now, but stay tuned. We'll be back with all of the other top stories. Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Markets Today on CNBC-TV18. Let's get to the rest of the headlines that we're tracking for you. The fourth headline today, Equitas Small Finance Bank rallied over 5.5% in trade after the managing director and CEO of the company, P.N. Vasudevan, decided to stay on for another 3 years. Abhishek Kothari is here with more details on this story.
Well, Equitas gave a press release to the exchanges wherein they have mentioned that Mr. P.N. Vasudevan, who is the current MD and CEO of the company, has decided to stay on as the MD and CEO of the bank after his tenure ends, which is in July 2023. So he was earlier planning for philanthropy move post the, retiring from the bank. So he had expressed desire to move on from the bank after identifying a successor to his current position. So board has now resolved to renew his term for a further period of 3 years, that is from July of 2023 to about July of 2026. This is, however, subjected to RBI as well as shareholders' approval. Back to you.
Okay, all right, Abhishek, thanks very much for that. Let's move on then. Wellspun Corp surged over 6% today after the NCLT Ahmedabad approved a resolution plan submitted by the company for Syntec, Pregraph and Infra Limited. Separately, the company had also announced commissioning of its coke oven plant in Gujarat through its subsidiary, Wellspun Metallics. Vivek Iyer is here with the details.
Well, the stock in focus is Wellspun Corporation. Now, the NCLT, the National Company Law Tribunal, has gone ahead and approved the resolution plan that was given by one of the company's subsidiaries. And this particular resolution plan was for SPIL, that is Syntex Prefab and Infra Limited. Now, one of the company's subsidiaries named Big Shot Infra Facilities Private Limited will be the implementing entity. So some positive news flow coming in as far as Wellspun Corp is concerned. Another important update, the company has gone ahead and commissioned the coke oven plant in Gujarat to Wellspun Metallics Limited. And again, this particular facility has a production capacity of approximately 210 million tons per annum of coking steel. So again, some positive news flow coming in. Markets clearly cheering this particular update that was given by Wellspun Corp.
Okay, all right, Vivek, thanks very much for that. That's on Wellspun Corp. But we are staying with you. You're also tracking SJVN. The stock closed with gains of close to 5%. The PSU involved in hydroelectric power generation and transmission has secured a 100 megawatts wind power project through bidding conducted by the Solar Energy Corporation of India. Vivek, tell us more.
The slew of order wins that we're seeing across the renewable space is something that bodes quite well for SJVN. The company announced an important update in terms of an order win. So the company got a 100 megawatt wind power project via bidding conducted by the SECI, which is the Solar Energy Corporation of India. The tentative cost of development of this particular project is close to 700 crore, and the project is expected to generate 262 million units in the first year of commissioning. The cumulative energy generation over a period of 25 years will be about 6,574 million units. Some positive news flow coming in for SJVN, and this is a significant order win. Again, this particular stock did quite well in the trading session today.
Okay, all right, Vivek, thanks very much for that. Let's move on then. Restaurant Brands Asia ended the day over 3% higher on the back of news that they are set to launch the US fast food chain Popeyes in Indonesia. Manglam Malu is here with the details on this.
Restaurant Brands Asia was in focus today. Remember, this stock was earlier known as Burger King, and the reason why it was in focus is because it's signed an agreement to open Popeyes, one of the fastest growing chicken sandwich brands in Indonesia, and they will start with about 300 outlets in Indonesia. In India, of course, Popeyes is owned by, the franchise of Popeyes is owned by Jubilant Foodworks. And also, these stocks had taken a bit of a drubbing in the last week. And as a result of which, some bit of bounce back was on the cards. And in the line of these stocks itself, we saw big moves on the likes of Zomato, Jubilant Foodworks. We saw some moves in the names like Indian Hotels, etc. So a structural tailwind coming in, and in that, Restaurant Brands Asia got a positive news with regards to its new opening.
Okay, all right, Manglam, thanks very much for that. Well, on to another buzzing stock. It was Gujarat Fluorochemicals. The stock gained a whopping 9% after ICICI Securities says the company's fundamentals will remain robust with opportunities expanding. Sonal Bhutra is here with an outlook.
Thanks a lot for that. Well, yes, ICICI Securities is bullish on Gujarat Fluorochemicals. They talk about the stock underperformance. The stock is down anywhere between 20 to 25% in last 1 and 3 months. But they say despite this fall, the fundamentals of the company remain really strong. And if we talk about valuations of the stock at current levels, they are reasonable. At PE, it is trading at 19.5 times, and as per EV to EBITDA ratio, it's trading at 13.2 times FY24 earnings. So it is one of the cheaper ones as far as the fluorination segment is concerned. Now about their fluorochemical segment, they say that market is turning favorable for integrated players, and since Gujarat Fluorochemicals is an integrated player, they will stand to benefit because they are fully backward integrated for its entire fluoropolymers business. In terms of PTFE prices, which is one of their important products, prices have increased to the tune of 40% to 960 rupees per kg, which is so far in FY23 versus what we saw in FY22. Spreads, however, have not materially seen an increase. This is because of higher power costs. And Gujarat Fluoro, being the sole manufacturer of PTFE in India, tends to benefit at least from some increase in the spreads that this particular product has seen. Export revenues from new fluoropolymers has increased to 450 crore rupees so far in FY23 versus 100 crores in FY20. And this is a tailwind for the company, and they remain bullish on the stock as well.
Okay, all right, Sonal, thanks very much for that. Well, let's move on then. The fifth headline for this evening. Crude started off on a positive note after 2 straight weeks of gains. Oil prices are lingering above $83 per barrel. Manisha Gupta, commodities editor, brings us details.
Well, yes, 2 straight weeks of gains, and the third week today as well has started on a positive note for the crude oil prices, where we are back above $84 a barrel. It actually has been quite a roller coaster ride for the crude oil prices, and this year we've done a high of $139 a barrel, a low of $75, and now we are trading at around $83, $84 per barrel kind of levels there. Well, the latest trigger comes in from Russia, which reiterated that they will cut production between 5 to 7% in the first quarter of 2023. This is in retaliation to the price cap and export sanctions as well. And then Russian Baltic export, if you look at for the month of December, has seen a decline by 20% on a month-on-month basis. Markets also are looking at gasoline, diesel, heating oil, all of those prices also surging up by nearly 5% on a year-on-year basis. If you look at the prices in this year, we've seen Brent gain up by 11.5%, but the product prices have done quite well. So for example, natural gas is up 28%, heating oil is up 40% for this year. The best of the performance performances though has come in from coal, which has seen 140% of gains, but that is because of underinvestment and because of the higher prices of electricity and gas as well. For the next year now, most of the banks and brokerages, including UBS, Bank of America, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, all believe that we are headed towards three-digit crude oil prices yet again. So they are targeting $100 to $110 a barrel of an average price for Brent for 2023 now.
Okay, all right, Manisha, thanks very much for that. And before we wrap, 2022 for banks has brought healthy loan growth and profitability. The challenge of growing loan books in the face of rising interest rates have not become daunting as yet, and banks say they are in a pretty strong position to deal with these challenges. CNBC-TV18's Abhishek Kothari balances the books of 2022 for the Indian banking sector.
Well, 2022 has been a phenomenal year for the banking sector. Bankers have a reason to smile as they move away from the pain of NPA cycle to healthy loan growth and profitability. So talking about profitability, profits for the sector on a quarterly basis has increased from rupees 36,854 crores in Q2 FY22 to right now about 58,717 crore as of Q2 FY23. Now, factors that have helped in improving the profitability of the banks is improvement in loan growth and reduction in stress portfolio of the banks. So loan growth for the banking sector as of Q2 FY23 was at 16.44%, perhaps one of the highest that you saw from 1st of November 2013. The rise in loan growth helped in stronger top-line growth for the banking sector, which has helped the bottom line or the earnings of the banks. So the loan growth incrementally has been driven by the retail segment. Now corporates have started to come back for working capital loans as money market rates have shot up through the roof. So capex-based demand going ahead may augur well for healthy loan growth rate for the banking sector. Stronger loan growth has also translated into healthy operating profit growth for the banking sector. Operating profits of the sector has grown from 97,383 crore in Q2 FY22 to right now a little under 1,15,000 crore as of Q2 FY23. Stress reduction. The banking sector has seen its gross NPA ratio decline from 7.4% in Q2 FY22 to right now about 5.24% in Q2 FY23. In value-wise, the decline has been 15.2% YOY in Q2 FY23. The declining gross NPA amount-wise has largely been led by the PSU banks. Now, PSU banks' gross NPA on a value-wise has declined by 15.9% YOY, that is from Q2 FY22 to Q2 FY23, while that of private sector banks has declined by 12.7% in the same period. So, PSU banks, the gross NPA ratio has declined by 256 basis points from Q2 FY22 to Q2 FY23, while that of private sector banks has declined by 119 basis points in the same period. Banks' balance sheet has strengthened with their core provision coverage ratio increasing from 69.7% in Q2 FY22 to right now about 74.6% in Q2 FY23. PSU Bank's core provision coverage ratio has increased to 74.9% in Q2 FY23 when compared to a little under 70% in Q2 FY22, and that of private sector banks has increased to 74.4% in Q2 FY23 versus 69% that they had a year ago. So for 2023, the loan growth could remain strong and could be in double digits. Net interest margin will continue to expand till Q4 FY23 results as loans are getting repriced faster and at a healthier rate. Return ratios will expand as credit costs will come down and stress in the balance sheet will continue its downward trajectory.